All right, well, we are recording a little interview that I thought would be a treat for members of the stake. We have with us the missionaries from the Cedar River Ward, whom we all know and love. And we also have with us some special guests whom many of us also know and love. So this is Susan and Jean, and they have joined us for a number of lessons, and we've experienced something really special as we've spent time together and been able to share our faith with one another. We have a long-standing friendship already, but have found that this just makes our friendship better. So we thought we'd spend a few minutes talking a little bit about that. But first, let me ask Susan and Jean to go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourselves, if you could, and maybe about how you know me and the missionaries.
Well, about 2 years ago in August, we had found out that there was a need in the community. Jean and I worship at Central Church of Christ here in Cedar Rapids, and we are a Bible-based church. And I had been worshiping there for 35 years. I actually was baptized on my oldest daughter's 4th birthday. So, been worshiping there for a long time. Our church is very service-oriented. In fact, that for about 25 years, our church had a project called the Clothing Giveaway. And we'd have this clothing giveaway 2 to 3 times a year, and we would collect clothing and household goods and all of this stuff and set up our church for it'd take a week, and then open it up to the community, and they could come and get whatever they want. Well, in 2018, this project was handed over to me after being handled by the same person for 24 years. And so with that, anytime you get a new project, everybody has to tell you what's wrong with it. And so after I filtered everything out, it came down to it really wasn't relational. And we wanted to be able to have a relationship with the people that we serve. And so a few months before that, I had met Phoebe Trepp, who is director of Willis Dady Homeless Shelter. And so when it was time for me to do my first clothing giveaway, which would have been the last week of October, I had called Phoebe and said, we want to do something different. We want to open this up to your clients for private shopping experiences while we set up. So we were able to help over 30 people during that week while we were setting up. We could pray with them, talk with them, establish relationships. And I had met a woman by the name of Dorisha on Thursday of that week. And we were talking, and I had said, what is it we can be praying about? And she said, Susan, I'm so excited. I start my new job on Monday. And I was like, that's so great, because Dorisha had been a victim of domestic violence, and she was in the shelter. And so she was able to get out of the shelter and get a new job. Jade, you are so sweet. and so I was talking with her, and she goes, now, I do move into my apartment with my 2 little girls on Saturday, and we don't have any furniture. My heart sunk because we had everything but furniture. So I said, let's pray about it. We prayed about it, and I got her information. And then I went over to her case manager, and I said, Alexis, is this a thing? Does this really happen? And she said, yes, it happens all the time. We're able to get them a place to live, a roof over their heads, but we can't get them anything else. And so I asked another caseworker, is this a thing? And at this point, yes, everybody said it was a thing. So I prayed about it, and I sent out a call to our church about this woman and her needs, and on Facebook. And by Thanksgiving, we had her entire apartment furnished with a Christmas tree and gifts for the kids as well. Well, that's what God used to make this all happen. Because at that point, the Spirit was just telling me, Susan, this is what you need to do. So in January, went to Phoebe at Willis Dady, and I had a plan put together, and we did a pilot project just to see, is there really a need and can we fill it? at the end of May, we found out that there was. And so we had a decision. Do we become our own nonprofit? Because there's no way we could continue to have this just be a mission of the church, because it was going to be too big. And that's when I met Joseph, because Phoebe said, I will get you in touch with the law firm. And I met Joseph, and we only met on the phone. It took us about 2 months to get all of the information together that the government needed. And we had such great conversations. And there were many times I was crying on the phone. And on the day that we submitted, and Joseph helped me remember, I think it was toward the end of August, that I actually met you in person. And I signed the papers. And Joseph had been talking all along about his church. And at that point, we could actually talk. And I asked him permission to hug him. And then in September, we were in 6 garages in 3 different locations and needed a warehouse. We moved into a warehouse at the first weekend of September, and we're blessed with our 501c3 that same week. And that's when I was introduced to all of Joseph's friends at your church. We had multiple people coming in and helping, and the missionaries came, and I fell in love with you all. So that's kind of our story. And
well, that's wonderful. We all fell in love with you as well. I think I remember how I felt when you told me about your 501c3 idea, and how touching it was. And I thought, this is something I know a lot of volunteers. This is something we can help with. And so we've had missionaries. We've had some of our quorums and classes, the Relief Society, and many others. The youth have all loved their experience serving with you. So after the pandemic hit, I guess we're fast forwarding a little bit. After the pandemic hit, we were worried a little bit about our missionaries, and they've sacrificed so much to be out here, and now they were stuck in their apartments, trying to contact people with by phone and via Facebook. And I suppose that's probably when I reached out to you and asked you to let them teach you a little bit, so they could have some practice and be able to share their testimonies. What's your experience with the missionaries been like so far?
oh my goodness. I'm gonna cry. You each have become such a big part of our lives and our hearts that every time I see you, it brings joy. I know that prior to COVID-19, we were able to go into our clients' homes and set up the furniture and pray with the families. And something that I make sure that we do when we're in the families' homes is when we pray, we hold each other's hands, because I believe that the Spirit works through our bodies. And to hear each one of you pray for these families and blessing the home and all of that, that it brings us all together for the same cause. We live in such a world today where it's really easy to see all of the evil that's going on. And it's sometimes really hard to see Jesus through all of that and see how God works. And I believe that God uses each one of us to answer the prayers of so many. And this gives us the ability to have God use us to answer the prayers of these people. And all we're doing is providing furniture. But we don't know how God's going to use that for them. We might be providing a couch and a chair and some beds, and a year from now they become stable and they find Jesus. We don't know that, but that's the exciting part of it all. And to watch each one of the missionaries see that when they go out on that first run, and when they come back and they're all excited. And this week you got to help a man named Jason, and you came back and you were all excited about him. And he even called us and thanked us for it. those are the things that we all share together, and we can see God working. And I love it when y'all come to my house and fill up my house and work in my yard. But I know the question was, what do I think and how do I feel about him? And I don't know if I can eloquently say that, but I have a spreadsheet of every missionary who has touched us and their address if they've gone home. And I connect with them on Facebook after they leave. So you're just, I don't know. Did I answer the question?
I think you answered the question very well. I think, you've reminded me that sharing our faith with one another is not just a matter of sitting down together and opening up the Bible and the Book of Mormon and sharing scriptures and doctrine, but we also have a living faith that we share with one another. We have this shared experience of serving together and trying to bless the communities together. So I thought that was a wonderful answer. So the goal of this interview is just to maybe generate some ideas and some feelings among the members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. My hope is that they'll be able to have these great experiences and friendships like we enjoy with you, and that when we invite the missionaries to be with us, when we share experiences with good people in our communities, when we sit down and have the missionaries teach, and when we have our friends share their favorite scriptures from the Bible, as you guys have with us, I feel like it takes the relationship and makes it even deeper. So I guess as we wrap up, my takeaway from this experience has been that whatever you and I started with, Susan, when I was your lawyer a year or so ago, starting that 501c3, the relationship has become something much deeper and much longer lasting. And I think that that's partly because you and I share with one another the things that matter most to us, and including these wonderful missionaries, including our faith, and including our blood, sweat, and tears as we labor to serve the community. So thank you for joining us for this interview.